longing for something that's totally beyond the idea of you and you becoming something. All of that is just a reflect or an attempt to express something that's beyond.
And this delightfulness seems to be so present and just appearing.
This is the delight that you are.
Yes. There's no choice in being present. You know, you hear the word mentioned as if it's a volitional kind of thing, but that's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh no, totally and utterly. Presence, oneness, being is totally beyond anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Totally beyond any idea that anyone can be or be in presence. When there is no one.
It's absolutely joyful. Thank you.
Hi. Sometimes in sporting events, you'll see, can you hear me? Sometimes in sporting events, you'll see the winning team will say, you know, God heard our prayers, and,
yes.
and we won.
Yes.
So if consciousness is the grand puppet master actually moving around every player on the field from both teams
Absolutely.
in every sporting event in the world,
yes.
and buying and selling every stock,
yeah.
and, you know, selling all the popcorn and the soda in every movie theater, et cetera, would you say that consciousness is a bit of an overachiever?
Yes, especially when it comes to achieving enlightenment, absolutely. Consciousness is the utterly still, impersonal silence out of which itself arises. And in that arising is competition and success and being enlightened or becoming enlightened and all that nonsense. It's oneness playing the game of looking for itself and pretending that it can find itself. It's all about what you see in the world is this personal endeavor. It's all about personal endeavor. It's all about the person finding something, achieving something. There's nothing to achieve except the realization that there's nothing to achieve. You are already wholeness. This is wholeness.
Tony, when I first read your book, I kind of had two reactions. One was I became kind of profoundly depressed.
Yes.
And then the other reaction was to laugh till I cried.
Yes.
It's in one sense, it's like tremendously funny. And in the other sense, because you have to surrender what you've always kind of cherished, you feel profoundly depressed at first.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the sense? Do you get the sense of the holy, the divineness about all of this? I mean, we're doing a lot of laughing, and that's wonderful, but I mean, do you have that sense that it's a divine thing and a powerful thing and a holy thing?
No, not at all, no.
No.
It's totally beyond the idea of holiness or divinity, all those ideas that we have. The difficulty with the mind is it sets up a picture of what enlightenment is like. It's a wonderful picture. I mean, you know, you can join the Enlightenment Club when this happens. When you join the Enlightenment Club and people, your friends hear about it, they come to you and they say, I hear you're enlightened. And you say, yes, I am. And then they say, well, you know, we have some friends next week in the evening. Can you? Yes, I'll speak to them. And you go and speak to these friends, you know, and they think it's wonderful, and actually so do you. Really, it's quite a thrill. And then some more people come to the room, to the house, and more people come, and you're speaking to them, and it's just a wonderful feeling of. And then this friend of yours says, well, look, the room isn't big enough. Maybe we should go to a bigger hall, you know. And you say, yes, okay, let's go, and we get a big hall. And then you say to this guy who's organizing this, well, actually, the hall is okay, but there's lots of people in it, and they can't really see me, so I ought to have a platform. And that's the Enlightenment Club.
It feels very risky to be up here. And it feels to me like that's how it would be to live how you're living. It would feel so risky every second. And so let's imagine that some of what has happened to you or the non-you happens to people here. When they go out of the door, do they go home and still be a doctor or teacher?
Absolutely.
Or are they all going to have to be spiritual teachers? Or
No, invariably people just go on with what's happening already. This is happening a great deal now, and people in most cases are going on with what happened before. There are 2 or 3 people who have come out of this who are now communicating this. Fortunately, there aren't that many, because I'm a bit worried about my job, you know. Most people don't.
so if I'm interested in saving the virgin forests and eating healthy and sustainable living,
Yeah.
whatever I was interested in before, I'll still be interested in.
You could be.
Or will that change?
You could be. But the only thing that can happen, like this guy over here who's talking about being depressed, is that what can happen initially is the realization that your life is totally meaningless. The idea that somewhere that you can make something of your life and make it work falls away.
I think I've been through a lot of that already.
Yeah. And then what arises is this awakening, and then what arises out of that is the total celebration of life by no one. So that the work that you did before possibly could go on being done, but it would just be a celebration instead of an obligation or a need to find something. We are driven by the longing to find oneness, and everything we do is towards that.
So
That falls away.
So if I have an issue with anger or whatever, I may go to some workshop still and learn how to deal with my anger. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, like my problems won't just fall away.
Well, no, it isn't your problems that will fall away.
Right.
That which believed it had problems
Right.
will fall away. There is no one who's angry.
Right.
So anger simply still arises.
The mechanism of anger
for no
may
one.
come through. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Tony. My name's Bill. I want to get something straight here.
It's been,
So there's these experiences that of deep, profound realization and sense of self.
no, that isn't an experience.
So in reality,
The seeing of oneness is not a personal thing. It simply happens. When there is no person, there is the seeing of oneness, you could say in simple terms. It doesn't happen to anyone.
So in reality, it's like this deep, profound experience of nothing,
Nothing, yes.
because self doesn't exist.
It appears. It's something that appears in the dream, the individual. When there is no individual, there is oneness. Of course, there already is only oneness anyway, pretending to be an individual looking for oneness.
Got it.
Hey, Tony. You were talking about anger doesn't happen in reference to with anybody. There's nobody to be angry. Do emotions like anger, longing, fear, do they happen in reference to anything, or do they just?
They can happen within the appearance of what is going on. Of course,
Okay.
that just simply goes on as it did before,
Okay.
but for no one.
If you say that life is meaningless and that there's no one really there, could you talk a little bit about calamitous events like 9/11? do you see that as really happening? And